Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Holly. If you're new to my channel, welcome for the first time. And if you're a subscriber, welcome back. I appreciate you being here. So today's video is on kind of a sort of what could be considered a controversial topic. And I know that my opinions are just that, my opinions. So I may get some hate for this video. I don't know. If I do, oh well, so be it. But I'd love to open up the conversation. Um, and so I'm doing this video completely on the fly, like like literally just on the fly, which is why I'm recording it on my computer via Zoom. So there's that. Um, and I'll get into that. I'll just get into it right now. Okay, sorry. So if you are a hiker in New Hampshire, whether you live in New Hampshire or you visit New Hampshire for hiking and backpacking, you may already be aware of what's called the New Hampshire Hike Safe card. If you are not familiar with it, it is a card that you can purchase from New Hampshire Fish and Game. $25 a year for an individual, $35 a year for a family. And this card is often touted as being a way of avoiding any search and rescue costs. And that's what is sort of controversial and why I am doing this video on the fly. I recently saw a YouTube video from a very well-known New Hampshire hiker encouraging hikers to purchase the New Hampshire Hike Safe card. The reason for that video is, of course, because the card is good for 1 calendar year from January 1st to December 31st. Unlike another Hike Safe card I will discuss later, which is based on your purchase date, 1 year from your purchase date. There's pros and cons to both. I won't get into that, but anyway, and absolutely nothing wrong with the video that this person put out there, encouraging people to get the Hike Safe card. I'm not against that at all. So I want to make it clear and emphatically state, I am in no way against donating money to New Hampshire SAR teams, SAR efforts, SAR equipment, etc. But I do want to make one point very clear. Unlike this recent YouTube video states, your purchase of a New Hampshire Hike Safe card in no way puts you in the clear for the possibility of being charged for a rescue. The idea or the concept that the New Hampshire Hike Safe card is a get out of jail free card is really dangerous territory. And I'll explain why. Bear with me while I go through a few points. Of all 50 states, only 8 states have a law that allows for them to charge hikers for a rescue. Of those 8 states, New Hampshire is the only one most likely to charge, the one that charges the most frequently, the one that has the lowest bar allowing them to charge, and the only one that can do a few other things, which I'll discuss a bit later. For the other 7 states that can charge, here's a basic quick overview rundown of them. First, we have California, and they can charge your county of residence if the rescue costs more than $100. That's your county of residence, not you as an individual, but they will charge your local county government for the cost of that rescue. Idaho and Vermont can bill people who travel outside of, say, a ski area boundary. There's very specific rules on this, so outside of a ski area boundary, off land that is designated not open to the public, that sort of thing. Colorado can also bill people who wander out of like a ski area boundary or into land that is not open to the public. And they have their own version of a Hike Safe card. It's called a Corsar, and it's only $5 per year versus $25 for New Hampshire. Or you can be covered for 5 years for only for only $20 for 5 years. Utah has the USARA card, which costs the same as the New Hampshire card, $35 per year per individual, excuse me, $25 per year per individual and $35 per year for a family card. But you also have the option of purchasing a 5-year card for a discount, and that would be $100 for an individual and $140 for a family. And under this program, non-medical costs incurred by the SAR team on your behalf are eligible for reimbursement by the state to the entity performing the rescue. So the sheriff's department or whoever that may, the state will reimburse that entity. And by non-medical, they mean the planes, helicopters, transport of rescuers and the equipment, basically the things that cost a whole lot of money. Typically, planes and helicopters involved in searches are run into thousands and thousands of dollars. And by you can only be found liable for any response expenses if you behaved recklessly or intentionally, with reckless being defined as, let me get this right, engaging in highly unreasonable conduct involving extreme departure from ordinary care in a situation where a high degree of danger is apparent. That's a much, much, much higher bar than New Hampshire's negligent term, which, by the way, New Hampshire does not even define. Maine can bill hikers who act irresponsibly using the term gross negligence, but it is aimed at people that provide false information. Of the stats that I could find, the latest being in 2015, it showed that Maine had only invoked the law 5 times since it became law in 1997. So 5 times between 1997 and 2015. I found another article dated July 2019 where the Maine Warden Service was quoted as saying they haven't charged anyone for a rescue in over a decade. Next comes Oregon. Oregon can charge no more than $500 per individual and may not collect more than the actual cost of the SAR from all individuals that benefited from the SAR mission. That collection can only occur if reasonable care was not exercised by the individual or individuals, or where other applicable laws were violated, such as you were drunk in public. From articles that I found, again, as of 2015, Oregon has never charged anyone for a SAR mission. Excuse me, SAR mission. I also found an article dated in November 2019 where the Curry County Sheriff John Warden, which is probably one of the highest counties doing search and rescue in Oregon, stated they had never charged anyone for SAR, nor did he know of any county in Oregon that has ever charged for a SAR mission. Okay, now let's move on to New Hampshire. New Hampshire regularly charges for SAR operations. It's widely known as the state most likely to bill an individual, and as of 2015 has charged more than 60 missions just since 2008. So between 2008 and 2015, they've charged more than 60 missions for a total of $70,000. New Hampshire Fish and Game started actually recording billed hikers in 2014. With a total of 85 hikers billed out of the 5-year total of 160 rescues of negligent hikers at that time. An article in Backpacker that give the stat that 6% of rescued hikers in New Hampshire are sent a bill. Okay, so a few more stats on New Hampshire. In 2013, the cost of SAR emissions in New Hampshire came in at $189,841. 7 years later, in 2020, that cost had risen to $315,588. So clearly, charging for rescue has not worked in the manner that Fish and Game had hoped. Hikers are not being more prepared and more sensible, but rather than rethinking their strategy to charge rescued hikers, instead, the state has doubled down. And they have actually begun charging some hikers not only the search and rescue bill, but with criminal charges as well. And they have doubled down in other ways. Again, something I'll discuss in a minute. The overwhelming majority of SAR organizations throughout the entire United States are opposed to charging for rescue. MRA, which is Mountain Rescue Association, and NASAR, National Association for Search and Rescue, are both vehemently opposed to charging for SAR missions. They feel, rightfully so, that those in danger will put off calling for help until it's too late at worst, or at best, things are dangerously being close to too late. And this thing makes things much more difficult for the SAR teams as well, because they are often racing against clock. These policies of repayment of SAR missions also actually deter the responsible hikers out there. It does not deter those yahoos that shouldn't be out there anyway. Responsible hikers know the risks, and when threatened with the potential of being charged with a rescue mission, are more likely to be deterred from taking the risk that will put them in a situation where they require rescue. But that 19-year-old college kid out there visiting the White Mountains, he doesn't have a clue. And the thought of being charged doesn't deter him anyway. Number one, he probably doesn't know about it. And number two, he doesn't even think of the prospect of needing to be rescued. New Hampshire Fish and Game often claims that they only charge the most irresponsible, but yet they can't define their term negligent. It is completely up to the discretion of Fish and Game officials. There's nothing in writing. If you're a hiker under stress, facing a potential emergency, do you really want to wonder which side Fish and Game is going to fall on when deciding if they're going to charge you if you call for help? To quote a MapQuest article, after word got around that certain states can recoup money for SAR operations, a disturbing trend emerged. Those in grave peril began to refuse help because they could not afford rescue. In recent years, there have been dozens of cases where people either avoid calling for help or outright refusing it once it was available to them. In each case, they cited fear of a steep bill as the reason. Boaters in Utah shouted, "Don't touch her," when a rescue boat came to a woman's aid. A lost runner in Arizona actively avoided a search team when he heard them approaching. A female hiker in distress in Colorado was in contact with a SAR representative by cell phone and begged them to talk her to safety rather than send a team. And these are just a few examples of what has become a dangerous trend. And these examples are used by NASAR in the argument against charging for rescue. Looking into a few other states, I just, I want to mention just a couple that do not charge for rescue for SAR missions. In New York, the state's general fund allocates money each year to pay for SAR missions. In Virginia, hunting and fishing licenses help pay for SAR, but the general state fund makes up any difference. I want to make it perfectly clear, I am not against the Hike Safe card per se, and I am far, far from against donating money to New Hampshire SAR teams. I am, however, very much against anyone giving anyone the false impression that the New Hampshire Hike Safe card will prevent you from ever being charged for rescue. The danger in this is that there may be some hikers out there that won't take safety, precaution, sound judgment, planning, preparation as seriously as they should. I want us to be honest though, and I'll go over a few things that I don't like about the New Hampshire Hike Safe card program. First, the RSA, which is the law in New Hampshire allowing Fish and Game to charge a rescued hiker, is purposely vague in the use of the term negligent. Nowhere is the term defined. It is completely up to Fish and Game's discretion. And in every case taken to court, the court has decided in favor of Fish and Game. But what else would you expect? Is the New Hampshire court going to judge against a New Hampshire entity? Probably not. Second, New Hampshire is the only state that has tied repayment of a SAR bill to other licenses in New Hampshire. If you are charged for a SAR mission and you do not pay within 30 days, Fish and Game will pull any other Fish and Game license you have: fishing, hunting, ATV, etc. Boating. Not only that, they are authorized to notify DMV to suspend your driver's license, and DHS, which means if you receive benefits through DHS, such as court-ordered child support, they can garnish the child support. Do we really want that happening here in New Hampshire? If you want diversity in users of outdoor recreational hobbies, the threat of taking away someone's driver's license or garnishing any child support they might receive is hardly the way to go about it. It's just one more sign the hiking and backpacking is only for those that can really afford it. If you want an absolute guarantee of rescue costs being covered, look into the American Alpine Club. Depending on your membership level, one of the many membership benefits is a rescue coverage ranging from $7,500 all the way up to $300,000, along with $5,000 in medical expenses covered. There is one thing that no one can argue. SAR teams across the country need our support. And in New Hampshire especially, we need to change how SAR teams are funded. It is absolutely abhorrent that SAR team members are buying safety equipment out of their own pocket. There's a plethora of ideas out there on how we should fund our well-deserving, amazing SAR teams here in New Hampshire, and all of them have pros and cons. But the tough love approach that we currently use against hikers in New Hampshire that need help is not the way to go, and has proven to not lower the number of rescue missions required each year, but instead has been proven to delay a much needed call for help. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this. I'd love to have a conversation about this and hear other people's opinions on it. So please do comment down below. And thanks very much for stopping by and watching. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.